Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today, we are discussing one of the latest versions of the Rolex Oyster Perpetual Sky-Dweller. Launched, as you see it here, in 2021 with the availability of the Jubilee Bracelet, it takes its traditionally Datejust inspired design cues and, along with the greater scale, combines those with the Jubilee Bracelet traditionally associated with Datejust design. So, assuming this is a very large Datejust, reference 326933 is also a wonderful combination of that enduring style with high complication. So it's 42 millimeters in diameter, 14 millimeters thick from lug tip to lug tip. It's 50.6 millimeters, but end link to end link, when you include the end links of the bracelet, it's actually 52.3 millimeters across the wrist with a 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Now, it does wear like a very large Datejust, and you can see the case lines are not those of the Explorer 2, the Submariner, the Sea Dwellers. This is a graceful dress style timepiece, and it's really not that big. You can see my arm, my hand, they're actually a little bit bigger than you'd think. We're very close to the camera, which exaggerates the size of the watch. I think you could wear this watch on a wrist as small as 14 centimeters circumference. I really do. A smaller wrist would wear this well. It's not thin, but it's also not monstrously thick. A jacket cuff should have no trouble riding up over the side of it. The Jubilee bracelet, for quite a few years now, really, has been substantial enough to use on a sports watch because with solid end links, solid center links, robust thick gauge construction, it's just as solid on the wrist as the 3-link Oyster, but as you can see from the bottom, it vents the wrist better than the 3-link Oyster, and the short cross section of the links makes it more supple. Removable links are fixed by screws, and that on both sides. We also have a easy link system built into the clasp. That's about 5 millimeters of tool-free adjustment. As you can see, there are also divots drilled inside the clasp. I'll do my best to show those to advantage, but there are divots drilled inside the clasp, so there is a spring bar, and you can use your strap tool to change the anchoring point of the bracelet inside the clasp, so you can fine-tune using the divots, easy link, or the removable links. There's also a beak and hook system. You can see the beak and the hook, and together they snap shut, so you need to lift and unlock this clasp. It's not friction fit. You can't just pull it open. You do need to disengage the clasp, so it's a secure system. The case is handsome, olive-high polish with lovely tapered lug profiles and handsome curvaceous flanks. We have a screw-down crown. It's a twin-lock crown in gold. We know because it has 2 dots, 100 meters water-resistant. Rolex has its own foundry. It makes its own alloys. It makes its cases, bracelets, and clasps, and it uses its own 904L steel, which is more resistant to corrosion than 316, the more common steel in the watch industry, so you don't need to rinse this watch after exposure to salt. Now, the thing about this watch is that almost all of the functions require the interaction of the ring command bezel, which is actually part of the caliber 9001 in the watch. We'll do a quick loom shot, and post-2017, these dials have been much better loomed with both hands and indices loomed, so it's a much more functional sports watch since that redesign. Black dial, black 24-hour second time zone disc, it's an orbital, and then we have this little aperture. There is a red frame that jumps from aperture to aperture, and it indicates the current month. So 12 hours, 12 months, that's how the annual calendar indicates the current month and date. So for example, right here, you would be looking at 12, that is December 29th. That's exactly how it works. Pull the crown out. The first position, you wind the watch, but in the second position, nothing happens. Turn the bezel 1 click counterclockwise, and now you have a bidirectional quickset you could see for the date. And you can even see that if you watch the little jumper for the month, I can turn both the date and the month forward or backwards with no hazard. Now, this is an annual calendar, so it only needs to be adjusted once a year during the jump from February to March. It can handle all the other irregular length months. Now, one more click counterclockwise, and now I move that local hour hand. So I'm setting my local time. It's the time where I am. I can jump the date forward using this system, but I cannot run it backwards. So if I want to jump the date forward here, it's really just one direction. If I need to move it backward, I put it back into the single date and month setting mode. Now I'm going to turn all the way to a counterclockwise position, and you see the way this works is at this fully justified counterclockwise position, I move everything in sync. Now you can see this activates the hacking seconds mode, so the seconds hand is no longer advancing. In all the other setting modes, it will continue keeping time. The way you set this watch is you set the 24-hour time first at center. So you can see, for example, that I have set 12:20 at center. And then what you do is you set your local time. So that is how you set the 2 time zones here. Caliber 9001 is an automatic winder. It has a winding bearing instead of a winding jeweled staff, so it's more shock tolerant than previous Rolex movements. It has a 70-hour power reserve, a 4 hertz beat rate. It pivots on 40 joules. It's a dual time. It's an annual calendar. It's a COSC chronometer. It's braced against shock thanks to the rotor bearing, the full balance bridge, and the free sprung index. It has an overcoil hairspring made by hand that better enables the watch to meet the COSC chronometer test standards, but also achieve timing of no worse than -2 +2 seconds in Rolex's internal testing as a fully cased watch before it goes out to you. It has a full balance bridge and a free sprung index for further shock tolerance, and the hairspring, of course, is made of blue oxidized niobium zirconium, which is anti-magnetic. So this watch is both sports watch and dress watch, and for that matter, it's a complication. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for pricing details.